guys, in this video I wanted to talk a little bit about art inspirations. I never thought that I would be talking about this on my channel just because there's a lot of great content out there about this piece, but I was really surprised when I asked on Instagram and people still seemed very interested in it. Regardless, I hope that I'll be able to give a unique spin on things. Perhaps something that you haven't heard of before. According to Google, inspiration is a sudden, brilliant, timely idea. And most of us would probably agree with that. If you're doing this as a hobby, maybe that's permissible, but if you're doing this professionally, you can't just sit around waiting for inspiration to strike. So we have to come up with systems that work with us so that we could increase the possibility of actually having these eureka moments. One of the reasons why I wanted to talk about this is actually because I am struggling with inspiration myself. So for the past few weeks, I have been very intentional in trying to understand how I can get my brain working again. One way to think about inspiration is like feeding your soul, but personally, I'm not a feeler, I'm a thinker, so I like to say I'm feeding my mind. If you've read The Magic of Tidying Up by Marie, she has this concept in a section of the book about how we should be treating our material things as friends or personifying them as people. I kind of took that to the next level and actually treat my body parts as separate entities. So whenever I feel very uninspired, I kind of try to disassociate myself with my body and try to ask my brain like what it wants. Going back to that analogy of feeding your mind, it's like presenting different flavors and different cuisines to it. And here are a few quote-unquote food groups that you might go to. As I was outlining the script for this video, I kind of sectioned off the sources of information into 3 parts. These aren't really in any particular order. In fact, I suspect that we are all doing this 3 at the same time, but in varying degrees. So the first source I've clumped into Secondhand Information. Basically, this is like the typical advice that you hear about going on Instagram, following the artists that you really like, seeing things on Pinterest, and watching movies. So these types of content are things that have gone through another artist, so they have done all the hard work for us in trying to compose things in an appealing way, picking the right colors, drawing things in perspective, and when we see these things, we consume it, and it's really easier than actually translating it ourselves. I've noticed this is kind of the first piece of advice that a lot of young people give. It's probably because, from personal experience, we still have a lot of things to learn. We are still starting on our journey. So having pieces of content that are easily digestible and yet still be able to learn a lot from them is very, very useful and is very, very inspiring. The second source is first-hand experiences, and as I have grown older, my brain has started craving these things more and more. These are like conversations with friends and families, going on a vacation, funny little moments that you've experienced while doing house chores. I personally like to get my first-hand experiences from just walking around the neighborhood, which is one of the avenues that the lockdown has really taken away from me. I used to walk from home to work and back, so even though I take the same routes, there's always something new that would stimulate my brain in the peripheral vision. So it's been really a struggle for me to kind of replace that. I think this is more of an avenue for me because I've actually accumulated developed enough skill to draw the things that I want to draw, but it's time for me to put in my own opinions and my own experiences in my pieces to make my voice stand out and my message heard. But this might be a piece of advice that is kind of hard for younger artists to hear. Most of the time, artists are very introverted and don't like stimulating themselves physically. I know when I heard this from Pascal Campion and my previous teachers, just to live life and do things, my whole mind was just totally rejecting it. It's like, I'm comfortable here at home, sitting in my little box, seeing the world through the lens of Google. It also doesn't really have a direct payoff when you're studying from a master artist. You have a piece that you could show to your friends that, hey, I actually leveled up. But when you're just experiencing things firsthand, it's more of an abstract thing. But we're talking about inspiration here. This is about feeding yourself and becoming a more holistic artist. Is that a term? Holistic artist? Anyway. The third piece of advice that I would give to you is to broaden your world. And by this, I mean actually studying things that are outside of art. This is an insight that I got from Feng Zhu. He's a concept artist based in Singapore. When he said that he considered himself more of a designer rather than an artist. And he showed the books that he had where he got most of his inspiration, and kind of advised his viewers to not just pick up art books, but actually National Geographic's magazines and all those things. And when I kind of started to listen to BBC documentaries and all that good stuff, it really expanded my perspective on things, and I was able to draw more stuff because I had a better understanding of how things worked. And it doesn't necessarily mean history or science. You could actually dip into your experiences or your knowledge in business or religion or even self-development. Just focusing on exploring things that you're naturally interested in, different sports, or singing, dancing, cooking, other creative outlets that are not just illustrating. These are different dots from different sources that make you a more complex and interesting human being. You could also see inspiration as just a bunch of dots that you connect. I think this was from Steve Jobs. The things we consume through secondhand information, the things we experience from firsthand information, and all the different hobbies and interests that we have supply us with different dots to connect and make something unique to us. So recently I have been presenting these things to my own brain, trying to see what would spark inspiration, quote unquote. And I kind of stumbled upon like Taoism and specifically George Thompson's videos. He had a series of episodes with him just traveling slowly in the age of speed, where he went from England to China through train. It was really entertaining and just gave me this dream of doing the same thing. I've also been doing a lot of deep dive on typology, which actually kind of sparked this whole conversation around art inspiration. Trying to understand how my brain works and figuring out how to effectively take in information so that I could produce something that's actually inspired. I would highly recommend you guys actually take an MBTI Myers-Briggs test and see what type of personality you are. Try to figure out how your brain works. Are you more of a feeler or a thinker? Or maybe you're more inspired with like the abstract thoughts, intuitiveness, or maybe you're a kinetic learner. So I think I've geeked out enough for you guys. But I want to leave you guys with this. There was this short comic by Pascal Campion where he said fun is doing things without payoff. And when we're in a relaxed state, or what Cal Newport would say deep work, like the states of boredom where our minds are really empty, that's like the greatest opportunity for it to process things that we've experienced. And I feel this is really when inspiration strikes us. So if you're feeling very frustrated that, man, why isn't anything coming to me, maybe you just need a break. We tend to be kind of workaholics with this urge to just constantly create, but in some cases, it might be wiser to just step back from drawing and actually look at the world around you. Be part of it, be human. I hope you guys got something out of my ramblings, or at the very least found it entertaining. Comment down below where you usually find your inspirations. If you took the Myers-Briggs test and feel comfortable in sharing, please just tell me what type you are. Maybe we could geek out together. Give this video a thumbs up and subscribe. Hit that notification bell so you don't miss future videos because my schedule is non-existent. Follow me on Instagram and or Facebook for more consistent updates. If you have any questions or topics that you want me to talk about, comment down below and I'll see you in the next one. Bye!